Hello everyone, welcome to the Handspin Review Spot YouTube channel. Please give us a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell if you want to keep up to date with all the new videos coming out. So what are we looking at today? Well, it's another one from Damn Designs, Adrian D'Souza. My adoration for his work is pretty obvious from previous videos, and I'll stick some links in the description box below so you can take a look at the previous pieces I reviewed from him. But this is quite interesting. This is an what is it? It's an 8-pointed star, and it's called the Voodoo, and it's a ring spinner, and it's a ring spinner that's kind of flexible as well, and it's a ring spinner that involves a bearing cage. So before I waffle on too much about that, let me just do a couple of size comparisons. Now, I don't have many ring spinners left, and there's kind of a story to that, which is that I've kind of discovered over time that while I admire some ring spinners and do use them, I don't use them enough that they end up sticking around in my collection necessarily. So here we have it next to the Gen X, and I do also have a previous ring spinner from Damn Designs, which I haven't actually got round to reviewing yet because there are some things I need to do to it, but that gives you an idea of size. Unfortunately, I don't have the ring spin here or any others to show you, or any loopholes or anything, so that will have to do you. I will just throw it next to a couple of other spinners that you probably know, like a tri-stubby and a full compass. Maybe, oh, I don't know, who cares, that'll do. And then I'll just put it next to, quickly, a couple of other pieces from Damn Designs to give you an idea of how it sits, both in terms of design aesthetic, but also just in size and overall shape compared to some of Adrian's other work. So there you go, next to the Invictus, the Triad, and the Turbulence. So, the Voodoo. What is it? Well, it's a ring spinner, as I said earlier. It's a sort of starred design, which is quite interesting. Still has the little laser-etched Damn Designs logo, which is very nice. And what's quite interesting about it is that it is a caged design. So you have a bearing cage like you would in the other pieces, and then you also receive a larger bearing and another retention screw to hold that bearing in place on the spinner. Now, I won't bother switching them out during the video because there's really no need, but basically it means that you can either run it with the bearing the same size as you would get in something like the ring spin or the Gen X I showed a minute ago, or you can swap it out and you have a bearing which sits much lower down the hand, down the finger, in a similar way to the one you'd find. I'm not sure if it's actually the same size, but it will give you a similar sort of finger location as you get from something like the Premium Spinner's loophole. So, in use, this is another one of Adrian's sort of pointy, pokey looking designs that you at first thought would think would maybe be lacking in ergonomics. Now, with Adrian's work and with Damn Designs in general now, because I've handled enough of his work with these angular sort of cuts and what have you, I know that that's unlikely to be a problem. So whereas if another maker sent me this and said, hey, what do you think of this design? I'd probably instantly go, yeah, okay, but, you know, have you thought about the ergonomics of that? Have you considered that it might be quite uncomfortable for the people using it? And with Adrian, I don't even bother mentioning anymore because I know that he's taken that into account, and he has. It's, as you can see, flat on top, then it goes straight into these chamfers, into the points of the star, and this one's in a brushed finish, and we'll get back to that in a second, but it's lovely and rounded. You know, there's just enough of a radius to these edges that they don't become uncomfortable to the touch. You know, it's just nicely done in exactly the same way as you discover on something like the Invictus here. And we're back. Sorry about that, guys. There was a camera glitch there. I have absolutely no idea why, but we'll get back to it. So as I was saying, yeah, it's radiused enough in that way that it's just not uncomfortable at all. So, in use, with the bearing I have here, that's the one that sits further up the finger in the same way that a ring spin or the Gen X does. For me, this is the right point for a ring spinner. I've kind of learned, having spent time with a couple of different versions of the loophole, that this is probably more just a personal thing, my ideal spot, and I really, really like this. As ring spinners go, and I'm not the biggest ring spinner fan in the world, this just has a lovely feel about it. It's about 65 grams, and it just runs very, very nicely. It changes direction well. These points catch into the fingers really quickly, so you can stop it and start it very fast. It has just very, very few drawbacks. The the performance is exactly as you expect. It's not intended to be a long spinner, and it'll be even less so if you're running the larger bearing, because you have a shorter distance from the point of rotation to the outer rim, the outer radius, I should say. But it works well. It's not too noisy. It's slightly noisier than the loopholes that I've tried. I think a hair more maybe, but certainly quieter than the ring spins and the Gen X. And yeah, it just works for me. And then the other thing that's worth mentioning is that if you're running it with this size, and because of the other one as well, any buttons that you have, or slugs or whatever else that you have, will in fact fit this, which is a good thing, it must be said. So you can turn this into a hand spinner, which is quite a nice thing, really. It works well. Yeah, it just responds nicely. It spins probably better using a slug than either the Gen X for me, or the or even probably the ring spin, in all honesty, from Steel Flame. It balances really well as well. It's basically that's dead smooth. This is a Gen X slug in titanium. Doesn't add much noise, and you can find these around on various different pages and what have you to try and pick up to go with your Voodoo. I'm not sure if Adrian has any plans in the works to offer buttons for these. He may do, and I may be just ignorant on that. But if he does, I bet they'll be pretty. So in general, it just works really, really well. Drawbacks. It's maybe a little bit large for me. It reminds me, if you imagine, a loophole and then sort of an extra chunk on that. So if a loophole in relation to its bearing sat there, this has just got a bit more outer radius size about it, which makes it a little bit less discreet, and probably not quite as good for, if you're typing or doing something while you're using it. Then if you're that kind of user, the loophole might work better for you. But in terms of fit and finish, the way that it's executed, how nice it is to spin, of the couple of versions of the loophole that I've tried, which was the T9 and the T0, I think that's right, this wins for me. I find it more comfortable to use. I certainly would be more likely to put this on and use it day to day than I would either of those. Now, as I say, there's a caveat to that, which is that there are various other versions of the loophole, and there might be one of those that would work better for you than this would. It would just be a bit of a trial and error game, in all honesty, to find out which one worked best. But overall, I'm very impressed with the Voodoo. I think it works really nicely. I'm not as in love with it as I am with the Damn Design spinners. The hand spinners, the strictly hand spinners, non-ring spinner versions. But that's because I'm more of a hand spinner, guy than I am a ring spinner guy. But I do like this, and I do like it with a slug as well. So I hope Adrian is bringing something to market which fills this aperture and gives you the opportunity to use it in a more quote-unquote traditional way. So there you go, guys. That's the Voodoo from Damn Designs. Keep an eye on everything that they're bringing out, because I don't think there's been any misses so far. They've all kind of been knocked out the park. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.